For refusing to pay my parents' bills after they cut me from their will? My name is Julia Ramirez, and for the past 4 years I have been working as a project manager at Harlan Construction. Unlike several of my coworkers who constantly complain about the pace and the demanding clients, the challenge energizes me. I like seeing how something that started as blueprints ends up becoming real, with people coming in, using the place, breathing it in. My apartment in downtown Denver is not huge, but it is mine. Well, it will be mine when I finish paying off the mortgage. It is in a central area, and from the balcony I can see the movement of the city. On clear days, if I lean out enough and there is not too much smog, you can just about make out the Rocky Mountains in the distance. That Friday night I was enjoying a rare moment of peace with a glass of red wine when my cell phone vibrated. My mom's face lit up on the screen. "What's up, Mom?" I answered, holding the phone between my shoulder and ear while I went for a little more wine. "Julia, sweetie," she said with that forced cheerfulness I know by heart. The kind that almost always means she wants something. "Hey, listen, your dad and I are having a family meeting next Saturday. Everyone is going to be there, and we need you to come too." "Family meeting," I repeated, and accidentally laughed a little. Now what happened? Nothing bad. Well, it is important. Come please. I will make your favorite lasagna, the 3-cheese one with the sauce I make. Just how you like it. My mom knew exactly how to get to me. Her lasagna was famous and she knew it. I could not help but smile, even though something tightened inside me. "All right," I said. "I will be there." I hung up and went back to the balcony. I had not seen them in months. Between my work weeks, which easily hit 60 hours, and their retirement full of activities, it seemed like we only crossed paths on major holidays. They were busy with the golf club and neighborhood theater group meetings, and me, well, I was always running around. It was also going to be weird seeing my siblings, Logan and Paige, the twins, who were 12 years younger than me and 24 years old. When I was setting up my first apartment and getting through my degree however I could, they were still in elementary school, living with undivided attention, gifts, new toys, cell phones, because everyone had them. My parents' parenting style changed as if they were different people. With me, everything was about responsibility, saving, becoming independent. At 12, I was already doing my own laundry. At 14, I was the designated babysitter every time my parents wanted to go out to dinner or take a breather. In contrast, Logan and Paige grew up with way fewer rules and with a whole lot more patience from them. When I moved out of the house at 18, the twins were still being tucked in at night. Now at 24, they both lived in apartments that my parents helped pay for while they found their way. Logan had already gone through 3 majors before settling, according to him, on something in communications. Paige was between jobs since she quit her position at a coffee shop because her manager was super toxic. On Saturday, I arrived at my parents' house exactly at 4 o'clock. They live in a quiet suburb near Littleton on a quiet street, one of those where everyone knows each other, at least by sight. I left with plenty of time because even though it was Saturday, the interstate gets backed up at certain hours. Paige's blue Honda and Logan's motorcycle were already parked in the driveway. "Perfect," I muttered. "The last one, obviously." As I walked toward the door, I heard laughter inside. As soon as I rang the doorbell, the laughter abruptly stopped. A dead silence. My stomach tightened. My mom opened the door wearing an apron and a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Julia, come in, come in." She gave me a quick hug that smelled of garlic and her perfume. The twins were sitting close together in the living room, glued to each other as if conspiring. When I walked in, they looked up at the same time with the exact same expression of nothing happening here. "Hi, Julia," Paige said, playing with a lock of hair. "So formal. Are you coming from the office?" It was Saturday, but I did not waste my breath correcting her. "Hi, Paige." "Logan." Logan barely raised his hand without standing up. I stood there for a second waiting for something more, but nothing. I went into the dining room. My mom was bringing out the fine china, the kind they only brought out on Christmas, New Year's, or when important guests came over. "Wow," I said, trying to sound lighthearted. "You brought out the fine china. This really is a meeting." My mom and dad exchanged a quick glance. My stomach tensed before I could even ask. The twins walked in slowly, as if they had all the time in the world, and sat across from me in their usual spots. During dinner, everything was superficial in an exhausting way. My mom talked about her gardening club. My dad commented on a new golf club he was looking at. The twins gossiped about people I did not know and honestly did not care about. Nobody asked me about my work, nobody asked about my life. It was not new, but it still hurt. The lasagna was incredible, just like she had promised, but it was hard for me to enjoy it with that tension floating around, as if everyone was waiting for a blow. When my mom served dessert, I noticed her hands were shaking slightly. Homemade tiramisu, another of my favorites. All right, I finally said, putting down my fork. Come on, what is going on? You guys are acting super weird. And my mom made two of my favorite dishes. Just tell me already. My parents looked at each other again. One of those looks loaded with information. My dad cleared his throat. Julia, you know we are not young anymore, he started. And we have been thinking about the future. My mom interrupted him quickly. We decided to get our will properly sorted out, and we wanted to tell you in person. Okay, I replied slowly, like walking on slippery ground. And my dad continued without beating around the bush. We decided that we are going to leave the house and the cabin in the mountains to Logan and Paige. A silence fell that made my ears ring. I stared at my dad, waiting for him to say something else. A but, and also something. No, he just looked at me as if I was supposed to applaud. So, for me? I asked directly. Yes, my mom said, and her tone became weird, defensive. You should understand, sweetie. You are doing very well financially and they are still finding their way. They need security more than you do. I turned toward my siblings. They were both trying to hide a little smirk. They were failing. Just to be clear, Logan said, leaning forward. We wanted you to know right now so there is no drama later. Everything is for us. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. Everything, I repeated. The house. The house I had been helping pay the mortgage on for the past 4 years. The cabin that I had paid to remodel last summer after a pipe burst and ruined half the place. Hold on, I said, and my voice came out louder. And what I have put in, does not that matter either? My mom's face got hot, she turned red. That has nothing to do with it, Julia. What do you mean it has nothing to do with it? I blurted out. I paid for the cabin's remodel. It was $27,500, and I have been putting money into this place for years. My mom pursed her lips. Family helps family. You know that. Oh, really? I said, feeling my hands shaking. Family helps family, like when I paid their tuition and re-enrollment fees at the university, or like when I send you guys money every month for household expenses. My parents looked down. They could not look me in the eye. Paige let out a nasty little laugh. Oh, Julia, do not be like that. You always act so important. The truth is you have always been really jealous because you know my parents love us more. Excuse me, I said, feeling my face flush. It is true, Logan added, now emboldened. You have always resented us because you had to take care of us while we had fun. It is not our fault you were born first. I looked over at my parents, hoping they would say something, anything to stop that nonsense. My mom, instead of defending me, hardened. You should be ashamed, she said. Talking about money at the dinner table. You have always been like this, counting every single penny. Meanwhile, your brother and sister are struggling to find good jobs in this economy. And whose fault is that? I replied, completely unfiltered now. You never made them take responsibility for anything. They cannot hold down a job because they have never had to earn anything. See, Paige said triumphantly, jealous and greedy. I pushed my chair back. It squeaked against the floor and that sound grounded me. What I see, I said, is that I have spent years supporting things that are not even my responsibility and all I get is criticism. And now you just tell me out of nowhere that you are cutting me out of the will. Why? For being responsible. My dad stood up abruptly as if the conversation was burning him. I think you need to go now, Julia. When you calm down and can talk with a clear head, we will discuss it again. I was speechless for a few seconds. I stood up, grabbed my purse and my coat. The twins were looking at me with that we won smile. There is the exit, Logan said without raising his voice, as if he were joking. And just do not slam the door. It is our house now, not yours. I walked out without saying another word. Not because I did not have things to say. I had too many, but I felt that if I opened my mouth I was going to break down. The drive back to my apartment was like driving on autopilot. I made it back by a pure miracle. When I finally closed the door behind me, I kicked off my shoes in the entryway. "You are so stupid, Julia," I said to myself with a tight throat. So stupid. I went straight to where I keep the wine and grabbed a good bottle, one of those I do not open just any day. I poured myself a large glass. I figured having your family use you as an ATM definitely counts as a special occasion. As soon as I took the first sip, a ton of memories hit me. All the times I helped them, and not with little favors but with real money. 3 years ago, when Logan crashed his first car and totaled it, I gave him $4,500 for a down payment on another one because he needed transportation for school. Last year, when Paige decided she wanted to be a yoga instructor, I paid for her certification $2,250, and then the cabin in the mountains the $27,500. Because a pipe burst and the water ruined the walls, floor, furniture. And I had used it twice in 4 years, but the heaviest burden of all was the house. 4 years ago, my parents wanted to sell the old house and cut down their expenses. They fell in love with the house they live in now, but with their retirement it was hard for them to make the monthly payments. The mortgage was in their name. And right after I got promoted, they asked me if I could help them out for a few months while they got settled. And just like that, without realizing it, for 4 years I was sending them $1,400 every month for the mortgage, plus $450 a month for utilities, property taxes, maintenance, whatever piled up. I was making good money, but that expense squeezed me and left me with no breathing room. $1,850 a month, I said out loud, doing the math on my cell phone. For 4 years, 48 months. The figure popped up and I froze. Almost $89,000, I whispered. I sat on the couch with the glass in my hand and stared at the city lights. And the worst part is that it was not even that I was desperate to inherit the house or the cabin. It was not that. What hurt was the way they did it, the nerve, as if what I contributed meant nothing. As if I meant nothing. And on top of that, using my favorite dishes as bait. I opened my banking app and went to my scheduled transfers. There they were, punctual as a clock, $1,400 for mortgage on the 15th, and $450 for expenses on the 1st of every month. I took a deep breath and with a trembling finger I canceled both. Then I turned off my cell phone, finished my wine and went to sleep. The next morning I woke up feeling lighter, as if a sack had been lifted off my back for the first time in years. I did not have to set aside a huge chunk of my salary to solve my parents' and siblings' lives. For the next 2 weeks I dove headfirst into work. I stayed late, took work home. I kept myself busy with projects, pending tasks, meetings. My phone stayed silent. Not a single call, not a message. It was as if dinner had never happened. Until the payment day arrived. It was the 15th. And my mom texted me like it was nothing. "Julia, do not forget the mortgage is due today. And we also need the money for expenses by Friday. The electric bill was higher this month." I stared at the screen as if I did not understand. After cutting me out of the will and throwing that whole show in my face, she still expected me to keep paying like nothing happened. I typed calmly, even though my heart was racing at 1,000 miles an hour. "I will no longer be making mortgage or utility payments. I am not going to keep supporting a house that you made clear I have no part of. Please make your own arrangements." I sent the message and left my phone face down as if it were burning hot. Few minutes later it rang. It was my mom. I took a deep breath and answered. "How dare you?" she yelled without saying hello. "You cannot just stop paying from one day to the next. What are we supposed to do?" "Hello to you too, Mom," I said, trying not to raise my voice. "And I am letting you know right now. I am not going to pay anymore." "You cannot," she insisted. "We are your parents. We raised you, we gave you everything. You have an obligation." "Actually, no," I interrupted her. "I helped because I thought we were a family that supported each other. But after hearing that you are leaving everything to Logan and Paige, I realize this arrangement is not fair to me." "Ah, it is because of the will," she scoffed. "I knew it. So greedy, so jealous. Your dad and I raised you better." "It is not out of greed, Mom, it is about respect. I have spent years helping you guys with money, and in return you push me aside and humiliate me. I am no longer going to be the family piggy bank." I hung up before she could continue. My hands were shaking. Immediately, calls started coming in one after another. My mom again, then my dad, then the twins. I let them ring. They went to voicemail. The messages were a mix of everything: begging, crying, complaints, anger. In one, my dad said almost pleadingly, "Julia, please, we cannot handle the mortgage without you. We were already falling behind and the bank does not forgive. We are going to lose the house." In another, Logan left me a voice note full of venom. "Are you happy now? Mom is crying because of you. You are so selfish." After 2 days of that, I blocked everyone. I needed silence. A week later, relatives I barely spoke to started calling me. First my Aunt Carla, then my cousin Marcus, then even my Uncle Victor, who lives in Phoenix. Apparently, my mom had already been telling her side of the story. "Your mom says you want to leave them homeless," my Aunt Carla blurted out when I answered, "Honey, I do not want a fight, but tell me the truth, what is going on?" I took a deep breath and explained everything to her. The dinner, the will, and most importantly, that I had been paying the mortgage for 4 years without the rest of the family knowing. "That cannot be right," she said, genuinely confused. "Your mom told everyone that you only helped them with the down payment." "I have paid every single monthly installment since they bought that house," I replied. "All of them. And the utilities on top of that. You can ask them." That conversation repeated itself with several people. Some understood me, others defended my parents. And there were those who flat out did not believe me, as if I were making it up to make myself look good. Tired of the gossip and being judged without knowing the facts, I did what I never thought I would do. I posted a detailed explanation on Facebook, what I had paid, for how long, and why I decided to stop. I ended with something simple. "I love my family, but I cannot continue to support their lifestyle while they treat me like I am disposable. It is time for me to think about my future." The post filled up with comments. Many supported me, but there was also criticism. Some said I should not air out family issues. Others insisted that, will or no will, they are your parents, you have to help. About a month went by without direct contact with any of them. I started to believe they had finally accepted my decision. The work remained intense, but I was enjoying something new. Breathing without carrying the expenses of 4 adults. I even set money aside and put down a deposit for a trip to Italy I had been wanting to take for years. I owed it to myself. But in my family, calm never lasts. It was Tuesday when my boss asked me to handle the closing of a construction site in Houston. The company had just finished a medical office building, and they needed someone to coordinate the final inspections and the walkthrough with the client. "It is just 3 days, my boss told me. "You leave Wednesday morning and come back Friday night." I packed a small suitcase, just the essentials. My laptop, my things. The trip went well, the client was happy. The inspections passed with minor issues, and that night, for the first time in weeks, I allowed myself to have a quiet dinner at a place recommended by the hotel receptionist. On Friday afternoon, I took the flight back to Denver, feeling accomplished and ready for a peaceful weekend. When I finally reached my building, it was already dark. Between leaving the airport and the traffic, a good amount of time had passed. I went up to my floor with my suitcase, and from a distance I saw something weird on my door. As I got closer, my stomach dropped. The entire frame was covered in expanding foam. That foam that comes out like cream and hardens like stone was everywhere, stuffed into the cracks, covering the lock, sealing the door to the frame. "What is this?" I muttered, setting my suitcase on the floor. I touched the hard, dry foam. It was impossible to insert the key. There was no way to get in without help. I took out my cell phone and dialed the building maintenance emergency number. It sent me straight to voicemail. Then I called the condo administration. They did not answer until the 4th ring. "Administration. Good evening." "Good evening," I said, trying not to let my voice break. "Someone vandalized my door. They sprayed expanding foam on the frame and the lock. I cannot get in." There was a short silence, as if out of surprise. "How strange," the person said. "I will call the on-call locksmith, but it is Friday night, it might take a while." I had to sit in the hallway next to my suitcase. It took almost 3 hours until a sleepy-looking locksmith showed up with his toolbox. He whistled when he saw my door. "Someone flat out did not want you to get in," he said, bending down to inspect it. "This is going to be complicated." It took him almost an hour to cut and remove enough to reach the lock mechanism. Around midnight, I was finally able to open it. I walked in exhausted with a cold anger rising up my neck. The first thing I did was turn on my laptop. 6 months earlier I had a package stolen, and I installed a discreet camera pointing directly at my door. It saved everything to the cloud and I could watch the recordings from anywhere. I searched for the time frame and played it. At first, there was nothing, just the empty hallway. Then, around 2 in the afternoon on Thursday, someone appeared. Logan was wearing a baseball cap and a hoodie, as if trying to hide. Logan had already been to my apartment several times. He knew exactly where I lived. He looked around, took a can out of his backpack, and started spraying the foam around the frame. He did it quickly, as if he knew the building's schedule. Finding the exact moment when no one was walking by, he covered the lock and the seam between the door and the frame. When he finished, he stepped back as if to admire his work and quickly left. I watched the video 3 times. Every time my anger flared up more. That was not a prank, it was a crime. And besides, it was going to cost me a fortune to fix it properly. The next morning I took the video and went to the police station to file a report for property damage. There, an officer helped me and took notes while I explained. "Do you have any idea why he did it?" she asked me without looking up much. "Money problems," I answered, lacking the energy to tell her my whole family history. She nodded and kept writing. "We are going to contact him. With this video the case is clear." "I do not want drama," I said. "I want him to take responsibility." A few days passed, then a few more. I went on with my life, but with that anger stuck inside me. Almost 2 weeks later, the same officer called me. "Miss Ramirez, your brother came in to give his statement." First he denied everything, but when we showed him the video, he admitted that he did it. "Good," I said, feeling a bitter satisfaction. "And what happens now?" A report was filed for property damage. Due to the repair costs, it could get complicated for him. There could be a fine, and if there is no agreement, it will go to court. There is also the option of a restitution agreement, where he pays for the damages. I thanked her and hung up. Almost immediately, another call came in from an unsaved number. I answered. "Julia, what did you do?" It was my dad. His voice was trembling with anger. "You brought the authorities in against your brother?" "I did not bring them in," I replied. "I reported that he vandalized my door. They contacted him for that." "He is a kid," my dad said, as if that erased everything. "He made a mistake." "Dad, he is 24 years old," I answered flatly. "And the damage was not cheap. Management already gave me the estimate. They are probably going to have to replace the whole door and frame. This is going to come out to about $3,000. My dad let out a breath as if it hurt to hear it. "What do we have to do to make this go away?" "Pay the $3,000 for the repair," I said without thinking twice. "Have Logan pay for what he destroyed and I will drop the charges." "That is blackmail," he said tensely. "No," I corrected him. "Those are consequences. Logan damaged my home. If he pays for what he did, it is closed. If not, let him deal with the legal process." He hung up without saying another word. The next day my mom called me. She did not yell. That was worse. Her voice was cold, cutting. "I never thought you would stoop so low," she said. "Using the authorities to get back at your family." "It is not getting back at anyone," I replied. "It is making Logan take responsibility. He did this and it has to be paid for." He was upset. "We all are," she said, as if that were an excuse. "You left us struggling. We were already depending on your help and it was not just recent. We were already tight, falling behind. The bank was already calling us." I bit my tongue to keep from blurting out a hurtful response. "I am sorry if you are going through a tough time," I said. "But that does not give Logan the right to vandalize my home." My mom stayed silent for a second. "So if we pay, you drop this?" "Yes," I said. "Pay for the damages and I will drop the charges." "Fine," she snapped dryly. "We will send you the money, but do not ever expect anything from us again." I almost laughed. But it was a joyless laugh. "That was already made clear since the dinner, Mom," I replied. 2 days later, an electronic transfer came in for exactly $3,000. Even so, I knew it was not without trouble. That money came out of the last bit of savings they had, or from some rushed loan. With that receipt, I went to sign the waiver and accepted the restitution agreement. The officer did not sound happy, but she understood. Families are complicated, she said. You have no idea, I replied. With that money, I was able to repair the door properly. The condo administration was understanding, but suggested I reinforce my security. I upgraded the camera and added a second lock. Not out of fear of strangers, but as a precaution against my own family, and that made me angrier than anything else. It has been 6 months since that episode. I have not had direct contact with my parents or the twins. According to my Aunt Carla, who calls me every few weeks, my parents are struggling hard with the mortgage. They blew through almost all their savings trying to catch up. Your mom got a job at a small diner near their house, she told me last time. In the mornings. And your dad is at a hardware store 6 days a week. They are barely scraping by. And the worst part, according to her, is that Logan and Paige do not help at all. Logan got a retail job, but quit after 3 weeks because the manager was too strict about showing up on time. Paige sometimes babysits for neighbors, but spends most of the day planning a lifestyle blog that never quite gets off the ground. And they still blame you, my aunt told me with a sigh. Your mom tells anyone who will listen that you abandoned them when they needed you most. I just smiled and changed the subject. I do not care what they say anymore, it does not weigh on me. My life for the first time in a long time is good. Last month I was promoted to project director with a raise that came as a breath of fresh air. I took that trip to Italy. I walked unhurriedly, ate delicious food, slept without worrying about pending tasks, and I am already planning another trip to Japan for the spring. In my apartment I set up a real office with space with peace. I have met new people in a hiking group, and for the past 2 months I have been dating someone who makes me laugh and truly listens to me. For the first time in my adult life, my money is mine, my time is mine, my future is mine. Comment. I really hope this story stays with you the way it stayed with me. I keep thinking about how important it is to honor your own worth in every relationship. Setting boundaries might feel tough at first, but it creates the space you need to breathe. I have learned that real love and support always go both ways. Choosing to focus on your own healing can open doors you never imagined. Taking responsibility for your peace is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. Kindness toward others is wonderful, yet it should never cost you your self-respect. You deserve a life where your efforts are truly seen and valued. Learning to choose calm over constant struggle changes everything for the better. I hope this encourages you to protect your energy and build the future that feels right for you. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.